Thank you and welcome to Fresh Start Presents the next iteration. This is Alliance TV episode 2. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes here to come on, but we're going to start and just kind of jump in. We're honored, humbled, privileged to have David Rambhajan, serial entrepreneur, veteran, and just a small business advocate who recently is now a part of the mentor team here at Fresh Start. So want to turn it over to Steve Whittington briefly, just talk about the next iteration of Fresh Start and what we're doing here with Alliance TV.
Yeah, and I got the word briefly, Zach, and I have to say you are snappier than you even were last time we did this. And I do want to welcome you as well to our second installment, where we are going to have, I'm presaging this a little bit, we're going to have the opportunity to learn from David's decade of experience as a soldier, as a veteran, an entrepreneur, and a mentor, just to name a few. I just want to quickly remind us, this is our second episode, and our inaugural episode was, and I see you out there, John, was the introduction of our alliance. And John and Zach and I had the blessing to do that. And just wanted to again reiterate what our strategic alliance is about at a very high level. And really, we came together on the recognition of our shared value of community engagement, where we had the opportunity to bring a safe and secure community workplace together with, an entity with Fresh Start, which was doing great work in meeting small business development growth needs in all the forms that small businesses take in the community. We continue to develop additional partnerships. So the alliance is not sufficient. We're connecting dots in the community and joining forces to help start, grow, and sustain small businesses. And lastly, something that we really are excited to focus on as an alliance, and very, very relevant today, is ensuring that we're looking at our community inclusively. And ensuring we have that emphasis on the underserved, and specifically our Black and Brown, women, and veteran-owned small businesses, knowing very simply that for our communities to be successful, everyone in our community needs to be successful. And that's what we're all about. And again, just excited to do this again, Zach.
Thanks, Steve. Looking forward to doing more of these. And
yes.
Are you going to hang out, or are you going to turn it over?
I'm going to turn it over to you.
So the format for today, and it's so funny, I think, David, the first time we met, I had a half hour scheduled. And I remember moving meetings back. I think our conversation went about an hour and a half. Just, the things we can talk about with entrepreneurship and your background is incredible. But we're going to try to keep this to 45 minutes, followed by a 15-minute Q&A. So if you have questions and you're in the audience, you can either drop them in the chat box, or you can just, raise your hand at the end, and then Jonathan's going to moderate the Q&A portion. So to jump in, you would love to just get, your story, David, your background. What stood out first and foremost to me is how you've taken that, that military, Marine sharpshooter mindset and applied it to business. Let's just start there. If you want to talk about your experience in the Marines and how you've, gone into entrepreneurship.
Sure. Thanks, Zach. And glad to be part of the program and love to see the great stuff that you guys are doing to help small businesses. So myself, I've been a serial entrepreneur for going on 30 years. And you could see a little gray. That's not a filter. That's my actual gray. And I was born in Chicago, parents of immigrants from Trinidad in the West Indies. So my parents really didn't know. My parents were, go to school, work hard, get more school, and get education. And when I was younger, I just felt like I was searching for success. I didn't know what it was. And I guess at that time it was having things. And so I've always been looking to see how to hustle and how to get things, and had many different little businesses, ideas and successes and failures that I had. But early on, I joined the Marine Corps at 17, actually, and went away to boot camp at 18. And I planned on doing it primarily to help for college. But it turns out that definitely, that experience in boot camp and what I learned in the Marine Corps offered me some values and skills that helped me to go ahead and build some of the businesses that I have.
Perfect. And you mentioned, I think what we're going to talk about the Sharpshooters Blueprint later on, but one of the, the things that I remember you mentioning is, when you first went through look through a scope, you're looking at 5 football fields and you can't even see the target. And then how do you go from that to being able to hit it consistently every time, right?
Yeah, I liken a lesson to that. So with this blueprint, the Sharpshooters Blueprint I talk about, the sharpshooter part is, yeah, I was 18 years old, and years later I look back and I said, wait a second. To me at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal, but I was 18 years old. In a matter of weeks, not months, in a matter of weeks, we were handed a rifle and we were taught how to hit the target. And the target was 200 and 300 yards downrange, so 2 and 3 football fields. But the Marines qualified 500 yards. So 18 years old, 5 football fields away, and I learned to master the rifle and hit a target, qualifying as expert and becoming a sharpshooter. And so I thought, how the heck did that happen so quickly? And one of the things that I learned that I try to apply to business and to life is that really what occurred is we focused on learning everything that has to do with hitting that target. So all our energies were strategically directed. We just studied, practiced, and learned weapons and targets and getting to know it and all the skills associated with hitting that target. The breathing and tightening of our strap and getting a good foundation. And then it happened. And so when I look at hitting targets in business, I try and take a step back and apply the same approach to kind of really gain the knowledge necessary and put in the time up front to practice and to understand what it takes to hit those targets.
Well said. Well said. Do you want to talk a little bit about your current business?
Yeah, so today, I've done a handful of things. I mean, I've had restaurants, I have different investments, I have real estate holdings, I've done flips and stuff like that. But my primary business today, I've had for 26 years now, is a commercial construction company. Quite honestly, the first 10 years, I was doing a lot of consulting in it. And as I've learned to apply what I call the Sharpshooters Blueprint, I was able to scale and grow it. And today we perform work from projects from $5 to $15 million for federal clients in different markets around the country.
Awesome. And then another startup that you mentioned, which I think is interesting for Fresh Start, is this My Student Business app, right? Do you want to talk at all about that?
Yeah, I think that my son is 20 now, and when he was in high school, a little bit of the entrepreneurship rubbing off on him. And he started a little landscaping business and mowing lawns. And I said, that's a great way to do it. As I watched what he did and he had to collect some money and he couldn't communicate with the customer, I thought it would be great for middle and high school students to have something that helps them get their first taste of entrepreneurship. An app that lets them understand about product and service and getting customers and communicating and having a project and collecting that. Very simple. And so it will be their first attempt at launching a business. And so I've always had the idea. And in the last year, we built the app. It's called First Launch. And so it's been accepted by both platforms for Google and Apple. And we're just putting the finishing touches and hoping to launch that.
What an incredible idea to get kids starting to think about building a customer base, right? You cut somebody's lawn and you shovel a driveway, it's usually a one-off, but to have a system that you tracks that and you can have reminders and exchange payments is so incredible. And it's so cool to see kids starting at that age because they're not taught this, right? They're starting to more and more teach entrepreneurship, but certainly not to the extent that they should. So
yeah, they don't have the fear that we develop too. So we have a little more fear, which we're trying to manage our risk, but they're younger, they take chances. So that's the time to take it and learn those lessons early. And some of the basics about product services, like you were saying, I mean, there's kids that are tutoring, there's kids that are baking, my daughter's baking stuff, she can sell cupcakes, there's dog walking, there's so many things that middle and high school students can do and really turn it into a little small business and then pick up those skills that whether they're an entrepreneur or not are going to help them in their life, I think.
That's incredible. Yeah. So moving on to mentoring. I mean, you've mentored a lot of businesses. Love the fact that your focus is mentoring, veteran-owned businesses, right? And showing them some of the resources that they have access to, from just the government and programs that are out there for vets. So anything you want to talk about there? Is there anything that especially veteran-owned entrepreneurs, veteran-owned businesses should know about? And I'd love it if you were sharing an experience mentoring a company. That would be great for the audience to hear.
Yeah, so I guess my vice president, he'll joke and he'll say, "What are all these video talk? Who are these people you have come in?" And so weekly, I'll meet with a small business. I mean, through these talks and networking, a small business will ask if they can come in. Really trying to leverage, in particular, my experience from the small business program. So I think it's general knowledge that the government, city, county, and state has small business programs. A lot of these are for women-owned companies, minority-owned companies. Some are just for small businesses. Some are for veteran-owned firms. And so all these small business programs at these different levels have opportunities. And even private corporations have their own sort of goals for these type of small businesses. So me personally, I'm blessed that I've been able to grow a business and to hit my targets in life. And I kind of wish that had a little more mentoring when I was younger, right? So I lived through a lot of the challenges and a lot of the failures to get back up and keep going. So I'm committed to saying, hey, let me share with you my perspective, my experience. And even if 8 things out of 10, or don't support you directly, if 1 or 2 help you, that's great. And so, yeah, I commit to do it, serving on boards and just meeting with small businesses and continuing to learn myself. And I think it comes back. I mean, some of these mentoring, I get referrals for opportunities too. So they're relationships, however you look at them.
Absolutely. No, it makes all sense in the world. I think you recently did a video series, right, for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Is that right? An educational series?
Yeah, there's a 5-video series. And if anybody's worked with the government, government efficiency is a little bit of an oxymoron, right? Because we've been doing these videos. The videos are done. We're so excited. And they're under review. And I don't know how many people have to review them. And so they're not all posted yet. It was the Illinois Hispanic Chamber. But the great thing I loved about it is we broke it down into 5 larger videos, and then those are broken down into smaller ones. And what we did there is there's always a talk about great things in human resources and marketing, some great topics surrounding those things that you need to understand about growing your business and managing it well. And I said, let's just talk about none of that. Let's just talk about the challenges entrepreneurs face. Just tell me, how do I go from 1 to 2 people? How the heck can you afford to do this? What is acquisition? Really? M&A? That's not me, right? What does that mean? There's no way I can afford that. But some of these things are truly within reach. And I have a friend who's got a small business, acquired 2 other small businesses recently to scale his business. And the SBA money was a great affordable option. So yeah, I think that there's, one thing I remember, and a lot of it, I think I share with my kids a lot too. And a lot of the younger people that I work with, wow, if I want to learn something, if I want to have a target and I want to become a success in something or do well at something, I'm going to find the person who's a success and tap them on the shoulder and ask them for a minute of their time. Or if I could buy them lunch so I can listen to their lessons learned and what they might have done differently. And that to me is mentoring, is realizing that it won't always be perfect, right? I mean, you'll hear stories about people, I don't really they didn't understand what street entrepreneurship is versus corporate. This is not a corporate thing, right? You'll hear comments like that. But overwhelmingly, it's such a great thing they call it many different things. Advisory board. I told someone recently, find key people and tell them, I love what you know, and I'd love to be on my advisory board. And that means that I'm going to buy you Panera lunch once a quarter, share with you what I'm doing, and get your feedback. That's worth a lot. And a lot of great people wouldn't mind coming out for a lunch and giving you, their feedback.
It's amazing, you know, the amount of people out there that like yourself that are willing to sit down and help, and all you have to do is ask, right? I mean, folks that are you know successful want to help other people become successful. And that's what we're that's what we're all about here at Fresh Start. And a lot of our clients will look to us as their advisory board. So after they graduate the process, you know, they'll meet with us quarterly and just bounce ideas off of us. And I love having that in my own business, right? The folks that I go to with with my struggles, and you know, they're there to help you. So I think that makes all the sense in the world. And thanks for sharing that. Question for you. So, we're here, Steve mentioned our focus on underserved communities, right? We're here on the North Shore, and you have a natural network of folks just based upon where you live. But as we're looking to expand into underserved communities, any advice for us on who we should tap and how we should educate those entrepreneurs on how to network?
Yeah, well, COVID has changed all of that, right? So a lot of it is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, some people are still doing it on Facebook or whatnot. The hardest thing, I'll tell you, when I speak sometimes, I sat in that audience, I wouldn't say anything. And I tell people, I said, come on, ask questions. You think I'm going to laugh if you ask a silly question? Yes, I am. And if you're worried about that, then it's going to be even tougher going into entrepreneurship. I also think this. I talk about imposter syndrome, and that is, well, that's not me. M&A, that's I didn't get finance degree. I don't get it. I'm not going to even go there. I don't understand it. And too much of that holds us back. You see, I think early on, I was looking for some secret code or some, I would attend these events where they'd sell you these. Back in the day, it was big binders. Then it graduated to CDs that we get about how to buy real estate and make money. I was at Amway for multi-level marketing. There was all these things I attended. I think I was searching for the answer. I was searching for some shortcuts and loopholes that the wealthy don't want you to know, right? And I tell people, yeah, the wealthy aren't trying to stop you. Nobody's trying to stop you. There's no wealthy group saying, let's stop the entrepreneurs, right? The secret really is what you were saying is reaching out, networking, participating. Today in this market is different. I had dial-up, okay? I had dial-up when I started at my internet. And I had a brick phone. I first had a bag phone. It was the coolest thing. I had a little bag with a phone and I carried it around. Today, you can go on YouTube or all these other platforms that I'm not as attuned to and get so much information. And you can learn so much and scale up and focus and put together plans that can really make a difference a lot quicker than when in the past when we didn't have that.
Sense. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible the amount of information that's at our fingertips, right? It's just, I think you'd be very disciplined and in control of what you're actually taking as advice and what might be used against you, right? For you to buy something that But to your point, it's going to your network and trusting the folks that are there to help you, right? Who've done it before. Absolutely. Do you want to? I think we just jump into the Sharpshooters Blueprint. I mean, that's we're a little bit early, but I think we could probably talk about that for an hour if we wanted to. So tell us about that and tell us about how you created this.
Yeah. So, what's happening is over the years, I've had some thoughts and ideas and I tried to find that secret code, right? And one time I had a mentor and a $1 billion company, privately owned locally. And I finally got an opportunity to do some work. And I'm talking to the president in this fancy office with all this millwork, like you see on TV, all the millwork's around, leather chair, right? I'm looking around. There's monitors with and I think it's fake, but stocks going across like they're watching stocks up. And I said, okay, finally, I'm going to enter this secret society and get the answers. And I thought he's going to take a picture off the back of his wall, open a safe. There's going to be a box that he opens and it's going to glow. That's it. I'm in. There's no secrets, right? And so I broke it down simply. You see, what I think happens sometimes is, hey, David, real estate. Well, I should do real estate, right? A lot of wealthy people do real estate, a lot of successful people. And those words are interesting, wealthy and successful, right? I think about that too. But should I do real estate? Should I buy Bitcoin? Shouldn't I be on Amazon selling products? What should my hustle be? What should I move into? And what we're doing, I think, and I've done it, I've made all these mistakes and still continue to do it sometime. My restaurant, right? What am I doing? Open a restaurant. But I was changing lanes where I thought the excitement was. And I said, well, wait a second. There's so many great things, and there's a really lot of great programs, there's a lot of great opportunities. How do you start? What do I do? What's the next step? And I put together the Sharpshooters Blueprint, leaning on my experience as a Marine, shooting that rifle, and in a matter of weeks, becoming a sharpshooter. I could take apart the weapon and put it back together blindfolded in seconds. And at the time, I was 18 years old. I thought, that's cool. But today, I'm thinking, how did I do that? It was that focus. And then I talk about the business I'm in. So we deliver large, complex projects for government clients. One project's at the fish barrier here in Chicago, where the Asian carp is coming in, and it's going to be a problem for the Great Lakes, a $1 billion impact to that ecosystem. And at that project, we have a little skiff boat that is a rescue boat. It's a rescue boat, and it's not a recovery boat. And I say that because the system that's there, it shocks the carp. So the first one shocks them to go back. The second one stuns them to be like, what just happened? And the third one will kill them, the electrical shock. And the reason the boat's there, a recovery boat, is if you fall in the water while working on that project, it could kill you.
Problems.
Yeah, it could kill you. So people are like, why would you do that work? Well, we have a plan. We have a plan. When I think of the details associated with the work we do, or any accomplishment that someone wants to go after, and I liken it to that young kid that gets a 1,000-piece Star Wars Lego box. They don't look at all those pieces. They pull out the sheet and it says put 1 and 2 together. And that's how the blueprint is to me. Is that when we do design build, but we don't do design, architects do. But when we build these big complex projects, we're really orchestrating a team working a plan, a blueprint. And so this blueprint, some very smart people have done a lot of research on this particular project and put it together. There's no discretion. When I talk about discretion, I think about franchises, right? What's a great franchise? A great franchise is something that gives someone a plan or blueprint that has no discretion. You don't have to. McDonald's says, I'm going to give you this for a lot of money. And then you follow it. And at the end of the day, the resources you put in and managing the risk with the system, it's going to yield some profits. And so being a sharpshooter and having a plan or a blueprint is what I started to put together with this little with the book that I'm writing, and what I call a little platform for working through the different thoughts of what you want to do next.
I'm looking at the blueprint right now. It's the one page that you sent me, and it makes a lot of sense. Just from I think for entrepreneurs or for anybody in their life, what you're trying to plan, what they want and how to get it. But you have 3 things at the core. You have resources, risk, and return. Do you want to talk about those variables?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you this first. When I was in business and I wasn't scaling, so I was in business and I was self-employed. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I was blessed. You hit 6 figures and you're like, wow, and I'm doing this. But I was an employee of my own business. And I didn't know. I thought, well, wait a second. I understand business is developing some systems, processes, and routines to deliver a product or service with a brand around it. I got it. I thought, I know this. I had the knowledge and I had the mindset and I had the commitment to do it. So I'm getting all the knowledge, I'm getting everything I need to know. I put it together. I got it. And I still wasn't scaling. And what I realized is I did pull back and I took a closer look at what was actually going on. I didn't know the 500-yard target. And I was doing 100 yards at a time. And so I pulled back and I said, well, what's important first? The target. And that is the third R, the return. what do you want? Well, we know I get small business. We want to make money. Well, we have to know what the target is. Let's talk about our business. What can it accomplish in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? But let's talk about not only that, but what's your lifestyle look like? What does your personal, physical, and mental health look like? The target is balanced. It's I mean, early on when I was young, yeah, I wasn't married yet. I was eating a lot of Taco Bell and I was working morning till night. That's all I did. Just work, work, work. And so, of course, you learn that harder work isn't always better, right? Just putting resources towards something isn't always better. It's strategically allocating those resources. So when I look at the return, I talk about health. I talk about lifestyle. I talk about what's it going to look like, because I love the great motivators that some of which I follow online, and some of them will say you just got to work constantly and forget about your weekends and evenings. I personally am not a proponent of that. I think you have to work smart and you can build something, and if you've got the energy and the time. But if you have a family or you have your own relationships or with friends, I mean, you have to have your life still. So that last star for return is where I say we start. Then we look at our resources. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have many resources. Well, sure. You've got time and energy. That's what most people use, time and energy. If you don't have the dollars, maybe you have to find out how to get those dollars. You have relationships, people who you know. You have the market. There's things that you have, but your skills and your time and your mind and body are what you have. But that's what you have. Maybe you have other resources. You figure out what they are. And that middle R is the risk. As we get older, I think it's natural that we have more of a fear of taking chances to lose maybe what we don't want to lose, right? It becomes riskier. And so I talk about understanding risk and managing it and putting it on the table and transferring it or avoiding it, but just know what it means. And so that example at the river, I know what the risk is and I mitigate it as much as I can. And because I did, that type of work is profitable because a lot of people walk away from that, right? So I look at the return, I look at the resources, understand my risk, and set that as the foundation that now I know, at least have a general idea of where I want to be now and what I want to become in the next 1, 3, 5 years.
So planning versus execution, you said in the beginning, you were looking at maybe 100 yards and not 500 yards, right? And you weren't really looking long term. I know a lot of our clients, and I know myself personally, I have a problem with planning. How much do you plan before you actually start taking action? Because I think you can get caught up in the planning as well. So how do you balance that for yourself?
Right. I know lifelong planners, right?
Right?
Entrepreneurs who are lifelong planners. They're almost going to execute, but things are coming up and they're going to get to it. So yeah, there is, that strategic precision, right? Because remember when I'm shooting at 500 yards, I still have to shoot, right? I got to get the round out. But I take my time and I breathe. So yes, there is a balance, right? There's this balance of, but I always really come back to it's personal, right? Who are you? It's not my race. Don't try and catch up to me or anyone else. Where are you? What does it want to be? Some people, and myself included, I was chasing money. And I catch it and I catch some more and I get some more. And I do, it's like, where are we going? Right? Like, what is this about? What's the destination? Right. So I think the answer to that really is a personal answer. But yes, you have to look at the timing, but it is heavier up front. More energy up front on projects or choices or decisions, I think yields hitting your target a lot better.
Makes sense. That helps. Looking at just the pieces here, the knowledge, the mindset, and the community. I think we hit on that. You got to have the knowledge, or you got to be able to find the knowledge right from somewhere. And fortunately, we have access to unlimited information right on online mentors. Let's dive into the mindset, though. Right?
Yeah.
How do entrepreneurs need to think?
Yeah. Let me tell you this first. One thing I do is these 3 R's are great, right? You go in, the guy comes in and says, hey, I'm a small business. I'm trying to do this. Talk about their lifestyle a little bit and what they want to do. And we get up to the next level, which I talk about strategy and return. And the reason is, how are you going to be different? What's your strategy? Often, and I tell you, I've done it, so I'm not pointing fingers. I've made all these mistakes, and I still do sometimes. Hey, David, the airport has a $7 billion program. Hey, did you hear just west of Soldier Field, there's a $6 million development. Let's run there. I heard that minority companies are making a ton of money. Did you know if you get certified as a veteran on the federal, these guys are making millions? And we run to the different opportunities instead of pulling back. And when we look at the strategy, it says, do you have to go there to this big pond? It's a $1 billion pond. What do you need? 10 million. There's 10 million available in the neighborhood. You don't have to always go elsewhere, right? And it's this perception that you should. I even felt it. Well, David, I got to go do this, do a little more of this. In my work, where we bid and do work, we get more than enough to have a great company to support us and our employees and their families, and it works. So I caution, because sometimes they'll say, I got it all planned. Yeah, but when you look at the return, you can't scale and hit the target that you want. It's like me loading the weapon with a round that's not going to make it but 300 yards. I got everything goes great, but it's just not, it's the wrong weapon. It's the wrong target. It's the wrong ammunition, right? So that's one of the things that I make sure, that we look at as well. But mindset, there's so much out there, right, about mindset. And I love Les Brown and Anthony Robbins and Gary Vee. I love the motivation. And in my office, I often have it playing. Whatever I'm doing, I have constant motivation. But, motivation without a plan, right, is, I could press the gas on the car and find out after an hour I've been going in circles, right? And the car's going, I got the gas down, or I'm taking my shotgun and I'm shooting all over, but I'm not hitting any targets. So I like motivation, but the mindset part, I think that I believed many things were real that weren't. And I say sometimes, I'm trying to watch my words. I want to be, I think I was living in a fictitious world, and I see that a lot. People have this thought like, well, I can do this, or I can't do that, or you should be doing this. Says who, right? So what I talk about is challenging that, challenging what you believe is to be true. I'll tell you, if somebody would have told me, I'd be sitting where I am today with the business I have and my own personal success, I would have never guessed. And I stumbled upon it, worked hard, put these together, and it was reachable. And I think sometimes we'll look at what we believe to be success and say, well, I can't, that's the imposter syndrome. Well, that's not me. Or I don't do it that way. Or whatever emotion we have against that. So the mindset for me is a combination of many things, including letting go of your preconceptions relative to what you can do or what's out there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it's like, you got to be careful who you listen to, right?
Yeah.
And I think also, it sounds like you just use your gut instinct. You have all these ideas. What ideas do you actually build on? Is that just your personal kind of instinct?
Right. Well, so somebody says to me, hey, Dave, how do you know when you buy your property? Which properties do you buy? How do you, what should you get into? I said, I don't know. The pro forma knows, right? The data will answer the questions. The market will answer the questions. I plug in what the value of the properties are. I plug in the cost of the improvements. I plug in, what if I couldn't sell it and I have to hold it? How much will I get if I rent it? I plug all that in to a spreadsheet that lets me see how I can make my best decision, right? So I look at time and I look at data and opportunity, and they meet, and then it's a go, no go. It's a go, no go. Okay, am I going to put resources in here or am I not? And one of the mistakes I made over the years is taking resources and putting a little here, doing a little bit of this, opening a restaurant, then running the construction. And people say, what, you can't do two things at once? I said, well, what I learned is I built the company that can run on its own. So now the company, which is an amazing feeling, and again, I'm blessed, but the company, if I'm not here for a week, 2 weeks, the company's running. We're bidding work, performing work, We're watching our risk. We're watching our cash flow. There's systems in place and processes and routines that runs. Now I could step away and go maybe build a couple other things. And you know, entrepreneurs have tons of ideas. So obviously, you know, you're working on many different things when you want, but don't let go of the steering wheel of the one thing that you're building that's going to give you a little bit more autonomy as well.
Amazing. You know, one of the best things we've done for some of our clients that think they have a great idea, they're all excited about it. They sit down with us and we actually ask them, yeah, or we try to figure out how does this actually make money, right? And some of the best things you can do is give some advice on how to either restructure, or maybe this business is not one that is worth pursuing. Yeah,
right. That's the good work, because too many times I think, and it's okay. You know, I tell somebody they come in, I go, hey, by the way, you got your business rolling, that's great. Let your family and friends pat you on the back. Let your mom give you the accolades. I'm going to challenge you. I don't have the answers, but I'm going to challenge you. And I think that's where it helps, because it gets asking the hard questions. Well, how are you getting from here to here? Did I miss something? How are you getting from here to here? Now, hold on a second. You tell me this is your target. I'm looking at the years and the return, just round numbers. I don't see it. What am I missing? Are you off somewhere? Is there an expense here that's eating into that margin? You know, profits are great, but retained earnings are better. And so some people are making some profits, and at the end of the day, you know, for many times I've had it, a piece of lint, a button, and a nickel, right? You're like, where did all this go? Taxes, paying all the consultants, right? So you got to challenge is what you're going to do and where you're going to put your energy, going to hit that target. And at what point do you realize, hey, I've got to either push forward or pull back, pull out or push forward, right? But again, I'm a little tougher. I really will ask the questions like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? How's this going to happen? How's looking at risk, quality, safety, delivery, margin? How is it sharpened up where it's going to yield something that's going to hit that target, whatever that target is? Might be in 5 years, I want to make $1 million. In 3 years, I want to make $1 million, or 10, or I want revenues to be generating on a business that operates on its own. Whatever that target is, for many products and services, it's very possible, right? But challenging their plan, because I think in this entrepreneurial sector, a lot of friends and family that are usually around you congratulate you, so you get all excited.
Yeah, of course, your mom or your spouse is going to tell you you're great, but it doesn't help very much. And you may not be, because they may not know what you're doing. Well,
entrepreneurship is a lonely area because too often you're in a silo. You have your employees, you have friends, but you're the owner. And so you need that mentoring. You need that challenging. You need to participate in something where they're going to say, what are you doing? And one of my mentors said to me once, early on, he said, David, how much money are you making? And it's like asking someone, hey, Zach, what's your bank account look like, by the way? You know, I was like, 100,000. He says, you've been in business 2 years. He goes, go get a job. He goes, unless you're going to scale or build something, what are you doing? And he kind of just shook me a little bit and woke me up, and really was just saying, how are you going to scale? Is this what you should be doing? Or do you want, there's nothing wrong with getting a job. I mean, I'm jealous, everybody leaves at a certain time and lives a different life. That's not a bad choice sometimes, right?
So we can go into Q&A a little bit early. I think I'd love for the audience to engage with you and ask you any questions that they may have. Jonathan, did you want to take that, please? Anybody in the chat box? Or also, I think if you're on the call, just raise your hand and we will tag you so you can talk to David directly.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, hello everybody. Instructions. I'll be moderating the Q&A section of this. If you want to type, if you haven't already, anything into the chat feature, you can. I know there's a raise your hand feature, which may or may not be on your computer right now. So you can go ahead and ping me via chat, and I will unmute you and let you ask your questions. So while we're getting that all queued up, I'm going to start off with one, if I may, Dave.
Yes.
So I guess specific to veterans, what are some of the more common challenges or gaps that specifically veterans face in starting a successful business?
Yeah, I think that veterans have a little bit of an edge, actually. But whether it's a veteran or any other small business, I think one of the big things I've seen, and I've been working with a lot of, I'm on the board for the Veteran Small Business Group, for the national organization, and sometimes you're really great at something, but I've seen, especially in my industry, hey, you're a great carpenter, but you're not an entrepreneur, right? Like, you got to learn the entrepreneurship part. Otherwise, you're going to go out there and build great carpentry projects, but not make any money, right? So I think that's one of the things, is trying to recognize for entrepreneurship, what you know and what you don't know. And boy, I wore a lot of hats when I first started. And today, the only reason I can do what I do today at this level is knowing the things I don't know, and knowing that I have a team now that supports me in those areas. But as an entrepreneur, bridging that gap, how do I get there until I can afford those people?
Perfect.
If I could just add, and we say it all the time with Fresh Start, right? An entrepreneur comes in wearing multiple hats, and nobody's good at everything, which is why you need a team of folks to complement whatever weaknesses you have. And knowing what those weaknesses are, I think, is crucial.
All right, perfect. Next question. David, you've been gracious enough to actually mention a lot of the mistakes that you've made along the years that we could all learn from, mostly as an entrepreneur. But for the prospective mentors out there, the people interested in mentoring that might be listening to this, what are some common mistakes, not that you've made yourself, but that you've seen out there that we should all be avoiding, or at least be aware of?
Yeah, as a mentor, well, I think it's important to listen. Really, 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 that's a skill I've had to work on. Just really listening and taking my notes and allowing them to share everything that they're thinking, and even draw that out of them. Draw it out, and what does this look like, and really helping them to pull out what they're thinking. And then once all that's out, challenging a little bit. Did you think about this, or what about that, or how are you going to head this way? What if this occurred? All those other things. The other thing is this, and this might not sound, sometimes I say things like, you're not supposed to say that, or that's not nice. It's not for everybody, but there's some mentors who will come and they haven't been an entrepreneur per se, and they will offer corporate advice on your business. And the entrepreneur might feel, well, that doesn't work for me. Or, a lot of these entrepreneurs don't have that corporate experience. And some of the mentors who want to help, they don't understand what it means to be trying to scrape something together. And I reference Taco Bell, right? Because it's like, no money this month. Looks like it's another bean burrito, right? You've got to get by and get to tomorrow. So that's one of the challenges too, is understanding that, we'll hear as an entrepreneur, and I've heard people at corporate, they'll say, well, what you need to do for HR is make sure that you have this and you have that and you have that. There's only one person here. There's no way I could do all that. I just need to get out and make some money. But I'll put that on the side, and when I scale, I'll keep that in mind. Because I did this one, when I did that talk once in the video, it reminds me of that guy with the sticks and he's got the plates he's spinning. That's HR. Then I go spin marketing. Then I'm going to go spin business development. And then I spin here. And by the time I'm trying to get some work done, I got to go back and spin HR again. You're trying to do so many things at once. And the advice is meant well, to talk to them about sort of large corporate business methods and efficiency, but it doesn't apply sometimes to the smaller business that's just like, how do I just grow a little bit? How do I get this off the ground?
That makes a lot of sense. As a mentor, you're supposed to be sharing and donating your experience, right? But at the same time, what's important to be effective is to look at it from their point of view, right? And make sure that they are able to understand your perspective through their eyes. We have a question here from Bruce. What background do you need to even think about becoming a mentor?
Listen, I think anybody who's had some experience down the road in any area can offer something. Because, to me, mentoring is being challenged by someone who's been down the road. I mean, yeah, it's great if you had your own small business and you're an entrepreneur. That's wonderful. Or if you're in the industry that entrepreneur is in, that's great. I mean, but just having some experience down the road in anything and being able to impart that. The other thing is this: the experience is great. Really, I think the best mentoring is someone to listen and someone to challenge, because I think that's the biggest thing. Is what I tell some of the small businesses too. Listen, I'm glad that I was able to impart some thoughts, and it looks like you're excited about what you heard. Don't stop here, right? Don't stop here. I'll show you the Sharpshooters Blueprint. Tear it in half and use the top part. I don't care. Use what part fits with you, but go out and find one or two other people, just like you spoke to me, and listen to them. And guess what? It might be different than what I said, and you might not even agree with it, but maybe one thing you did. Take that one thing, talk to another person, take two things there, take one person, and put together your plan. But don't just stop there, right? What is it? It's like diversifying your portfolio, right? That's what you're doing.
Great. Next question we have for you is, what is one of the most unique mentoring situations you've ever been in?
As a mentor?
Yes.
Yeah. So, great. Okay. So, I'm mentoring, and I went through the blueprints a little bit. This is my target. This is what I want to do. Here are my resources. I'm going to manage it this way. This is the direction I'm heading, and this is how I want to have my life be, and this is what I want to become. All right, let's go to the next part. Strategy. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go after this. I'm going to be unique because of that. Okay. Now return. And they were so excited. They were so into it. They were so confident, right? And I say this, as entrepreneurs, our excitement clouds our judgment. Literally, sometimes we're like, what? I believed it so much. Don't tell me no. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a quitter. That's why you're saying that. I'm not a quitter. But we need someone to challenge us. In plain English, I wrote out just a simple 1, 3, 5 year, show me revenues, show me general cost. Oh, well, I don't have overhead right now. So I'm not going to put anything in. Oh, yes, you are. You're putting the overhead based on what it's going to cost later. What do you do? Raise your prices later once you get customers? So we go through it. And I said, take this little number at the bottom, divide it by the top one. That's your profits on your revenues. Doesn't look like what you were telling me. What happened? And then we change it around. Doesn't look like, I said, I might be missing something. And I finally said, let's stop here. This is the homework. Show me what I'm missing. I want to see general numbers of cost of goods sold, cost of goods sold, and what's left over, right? Overhead, and then what's left over. How's this going to hit the target? Mm-hmm. And I said, you can have a job doing that, your own consulting doing that, but I don't see you affording to hire somebody yet, right? So I think, and again, I've been there, right? I'm so confident in things. I was like, this is going to be great. This is what I'm doing. In my restaurant, for instance, I remember early on, I had a project that just didn't do well. And my father goes, yeah, there's your MBA right there. That's your MBA. You paid it to the job. The restaurant too. The restaurant was a learning experience. And if you would have seen me when I was doing it, I would look so confident and excited. It's like, are you grounded here? Where's this going? But I just want to be the guy who bought drinks. You know what? I would have lost less money if I would have just taken all my friends out every Friday night and bought rounds, right? And that was the fun part.
So that is a lesson for everybody on this call. Next, we've got a question from Jonathan Pfisterer. So Jonathan, if you want to unmute your phone and ask your question.
I know we're all thirsty to make that sale, and we want to take on the world, and we want to do whatever it is to make that client happy. But there's got to be some point, right, where that's an impossible task, or they're not paying their invoice, or they're just asking so much more of you. And at the end of the day, it's a $500 job. So when, walking away, how would you navigate that as someone who's starting up a business from ground zero?
Yeah. It's a very real thing. And early on, I would just say, yes, may I have another? That's yes, I mean, what are you going to do? You need the money. So I had to think about, oh my God, when I get enough money, I'm going to have to let the client know, we're not able to deliver that right now, and that's not going to fit for us, but maybe I could refer you to someone, because I'm always trying to help, right? All relationships are important, but then you could walk away from those. And early on, I took the opportunities and the jobs to just try and get a little bit of a foundation. But what I will tell you is be careful, because here's what happens sometimes. And it happened with me a little bit. I kept doing it, and I was never getting out of that little hole, right? So those opportunities that you get, and when you do them, that aren't your best profitable opportunities, but it's still dollars, you have to start looking at them as a means to an end. And if you can't see it as a means to an end, then you might have to get off that train. But hopefully it's a means to an end where you're building retained earnings to be able to get to the next level and get to clients that fit more for your business.
That was a great question. We're just going to have one more question. Mr. John Edgecombe, you want to unmute your phone and ask?
Unmute. Yeah, David. Thank you for doing this today. Great presentation. I have a question. There's so many times, and I'm surrounded around people who talk about success, right? And I'd like you to give me a little bit of your thoughts on failure and the importance of failure in the process of making a better company or helping a client, or what have you. Can you give a little insight on that?
Yeah. Short of a super tech unicorn business that's launching, I think that path is a path of failures. If you don't want to make a mistake, I tell them, sit down. Don't go anywhere. You're going to be safe. And boy, it's easy to say now, right? After living it. And that's why, I talk to my kids, and I think it goes in one ear and out the other. I'm like, whatever. And they're going to learn on their own mistakes. But somebody said to me, don't stop talking. They're listening. And I use the same thing with the small businesses. I'm still going to say it. Yes, failure is part of it, because you know what the hardest thing to do is to start a business from scratch. Mm-hmm. You know what's easier? Acquire something. You know what's easier? Buy a franchise, right? But when you're starting it from scratch, you're trying to build an engine to make the car go. I mean, that's when I really look back, I get tired when I look back. I don't look back at what I went through. I'm like, oh my God, that was tiring. But I definitely said things that I look back and said, oh, I can't believe I said that to that client. Can't believe I said that to that banker. Can't believe I acted like that. I can't believe that I made that mistake. The restaurant, this was only within the last 10 years. It's like, what am I doing? What was I? So failure's part of it, but wow, how great if you can surround yourself with mentorship to challenge you. I think it would reduce some of the failures that you go through, but failures are definitely part of the path. And I think it's said a lot in a lot of these motivational talks about failure, right? That's the path to success, and a lot of great things that are said like that. But definitely when you think about it, these people who go the distance and marathons and do great things, they get hurt along the way, but they always start. And there's a small business that I met, and she was, I'm going to say, she's not listening, hopefully. So she's going to look at me, what are you talking about? She's in her younger 50s, let's say. And I'm talking to her, and she's got this business, and she says to me, yeah, I won't be able to meet next week because I'm heading out for the triathlon. I said, what did you say? Yeah, I'm doing a triathlon. You're doing a triathlon? Where do you find time? Not a marathon. She's doing a triathlon. And she says, yeah, I'm working with this. I'm working with a dietitian and a physical therapist. And I got my bumps and bruises. That's what my scars are. failures built her up, and she stayed the course, and she readjusted her sales, right? And she stayed on track and fell off and got back, and she's running and swimming and biking in a triathlon, and I felt like I can't even. How many push-ups can I do now? Like, what are you doing? So yeah, definitely. I think definitely failure is it's just part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dave, as well as all of you that are asking questions. Zach, I'm going to throw it back to you. Take us home.
Yeah, so I just wanted to reiterate, David, thank you so much for this. We're going to make this, required watching for certainly all new fresh start clients, because there's just so much information here that everybody starting a business should know. So wanted to thank you again. This is a calling, to all mentors. Anybody interested in mentoring, we do have an event we're doing, Cinco de Mayo on the 5th. So more information to come. If you're on our mailing list, you should be hearing from us. If you're not on our mailing list, reach out to myself or any of the board members, and we'll make sure that you get that information. And then this is episode 2 of Lions TV. Episode 3 is actually going to be featuring a successful fresh start client. So tune in, more information to come, on that as well. And I just wanted to thank the audience and everybody, for participating. And have a great evening. Until next time.